Hello, beautiful. This is Brandy Oswald, the Body Love Yogi, and you are joining me for the Free Yourself from Food and Exercise Guilt free training. In this free training, I'm going to offer you 5 strategies to love your body and stop feeling guilty for skipping your workout and eating that piece of cake. And so if you're new to me, I'm a body love coach and yoga instructor who has designed her life around empowering women like you to love their bodies and experience more joy in their daily lives. This training today compiles a decade of my own personal experience with research and client success stories to offer you strategies that will change your relationship to food and exercise for good. Now, you're probably wondering, how can I be so certain that this training is going to change your life? Well, I'm certain because it is the strategies and techniques in this training that have not only allowed me to release my own struggles with food and exercise guilt, but countless of my clients as well. It's important for you to know that you are not alone in this struggle with food and exercise guilt. So many of us have stared down that piece of cake across the table, agonizing over whether or not to eat it, only to feel immense guilt and shame once we finally choose to indulge. So many of us have also berated ourselves for skipping that workout that we can't freaking stand. You're not alone. I've been there too. And every single day, clients share with me how they too live this same struggle. Well, the good news is that it doesn't have to be like this. You can eat a piece of cake without hating yourself. You can skip that workout you dread and still feel good about your decision. You can and you will. This training will offer you 5 powerful strategies to get you there, to get you to freedom. And so if you need a moment, go ahead and turn off any distractions, turn the TV off, silence your phone, and grab a pen, pencil, and your journal or something to write on as we start to dive into this training. Taking notes along the way, anything that stands out to you, perhaps even setting intentions, things that you want to work towards that are specific to you. And then when you're ready, come back and we'll get started. So to free yourself from food and exercise guilt, the very first strategy is to tell diets to fuck off. You see, the reason why we feel guilty is because we don't do things we think that we should do. And diets create a big, gigantic list of things we feel like we should be doing. And as a result, diets create a recipe for feeling guilty. They set us up for guilt and failure because you will always fail your diet by eating that piece of cake on your birthday, by skipping the gym when you're on vacation, and eventually abandoning the diet altogether because no person lives on a diet for their whole entire life. You will always fail your diet. This will always happen. And when it does, you will always feel guilty for what you did or didn't eat, and how you did or didn't work out. Always. So it's time to forget that. It's time to tell diets to fuck off. You can't be free from food and exercise guilt if you're still holding on to a diet of choice. If you're still holding on to that idea that you should be doing this, you should be doing that without any focus on what feels good for you. There will always be food and exercise guilt if you're allowing yourself to live up to this diet plan that's impossible to carry through perfectly. And so if you're going to tell diets to get out of here, what can you do instead? That brings us to the second strategy. Instead of living your life on a diet, choose to prioritize what brings you joy. Rather than dragging your ass to the gym for the 3rd time this week or feeling like crap in that dreaded boot camp class, ask yourself, what way can I move my body that will bring me joy? You're more likely to skip out on a crappy workout that you dread doing than a super fun activity that brings you joy. So whether it's a dance class or swimming in the lake or a long bike ride, you go because you want to, not because you feel that you have to for a fear of gaining weight. If you do the thing that brings you joy, you'll have no regrets, no guilt. You'll still be moving your body, but you'll have a whole lot of happiness. And the same goes for food too. Rather than eating 100-calorie cardboard snack pack crap or eating a brownie and hating yourself later, ask yourself, what can I eat that will bring me joy before, during, and after eating it? What can I eat? What is something that I'll look forward to eating that tastes good while I'm eating it and that helps me feel good about myself after eating it? No one looks forward to eating bland chicken and steamed broccoli for lunch every single day forever. And very few people eat half a pan of brownies and feel very amazingly good about themselves afterwards. So the choice here is to stay with that same routine, that same diet, bland chicken, steamed veggies, or veering off in the opposite direction, overeating, overindulging on things that don't make you feel good. Or instead, to choose to prioritize foods that bring you lasting joy and make you feel good both in and about your body. And when you do that, when you choose to prioritize your joy in food and movement, you will never have food or exercise guilt again. One of my clients, Brittany, was a lifetime dieter. From as young as she could remember, she had always been on a diet or was getting ready to start her next diet. And with both her parents being bodybuilders, there was constantly talk of food and diets in her household as she was growing up. And so she soon adopted the belief that happiness can be found in physical perfection, which comes from dieting on bland chicken and steamed veggies. How boring. She desperately wanted to be free from the constant dieting, to have this sense of joy back in her life. She desired freedom from fixating on food 24/7, counting calories and tracking macros. And so when Brittany came to me with this struggle, I offered up what seemed like a radical suggestion. I asked her, what if you stopped dieting because you want to? No big elaborate reason. Just stop dieting because you want to stop. Because wanting to stop is enough of a reason. And nervous and a little bit afraid, Brittany decided to let go of a lifetime of dieting. Instead of eating what fit a predetermined diet plan, she ate foods that allowed her to feel good in and about her body. And suddenly, bland chicken and steamed veggies turned into vibrant, bright salads. They turned into delicious, healthy desserts and filling snacks that weren't made of cardboard or a different steamed veggie. And after a lifetime of dieting, she was finally able to free herself from the restriction, from the rules and the food guilt by telling diets to get out of here and to actually prioritize what brings her joy. Brittany found freedom because she chose it, because she wanted it, and because wanting it is enough of a reason. And so once you ditch diets and decide to prioritize your own joy, the next strategy is to trade weigh-ins for what I like to call sit-ins. So you know there are those days when you're feeling pretty good about yourself and your body, or at least not terrible, and then you decide to step on the scale. You look down and read the number, and all of a sudden, that good feeling is gone. You feel like crap. You begin to feel guilty for not working out more and for eating that piece of cake at the office party. You stare down at that number and begin to hate yourself and your body. And I know because I did it too, for years. Rather than prioritizing my own joy, I chose to let the scale control how I felt about myself. I handed over my own ability to choose how I felt about my body, and I gave it to the scale. And I don't need to tell you this, but the scale is a real jerk. The scale is not your friend and has no business dictating when you're allowed to be happy. If you're going to free yourself from food and exercise guilt, you have to throw out your scale. You must reclaim your ability to choose how you feel about your body and stop handing it over to your scale. Ditch your scale and instead of weigh-ins, opt for sit-ins. And so you might be going, what the hell is a sit-in? Well, allow me to explain. When you feel the urge to step on the scale or obsess about your weight, instead, try the following 4-step process that I like to call a sit-in. First, sit down in a quiet, peaceful place. Then, close your eyes and take 10 slow, deep breaths. From there, repeat to yourself the affirmation, I choose to prioritize joy, 10 times. And then you'll repeat these 3 steps until that anxious feeling has subsided. In some instances, it will only take 1 round of breath, 1 round of affirmation. That can only take 2 minutes. In other instances, it might take 10, 15 minutes, 4 or 5 rounds. Giving yourself space to really calm down that anxious feeling, to resist the urge to step on the scale, and to step into your freedom, your own ability to decide when you feel happy. And if truth be told, your scale is rude, and you don't need that in your life. So at this point, I want to tell you a little story, a true story about me and my relationship to the scale. Oftentimes when we do these trainings, it's easy to feel as though the person on the other side knows what they're talking about, but have never lived the struggle. It's something they either never lived with or so far behind them in the past that it's almost as if it was a different lifetime. But I want you to know that this guide comes from me to you from a place of having lived the struggle. Having seen it, lived it, been deep within it, and then moved through and passed to the other side. But before I got here where I am, leading trainings such as this one, it was a very different story. So on a snowy November night, years ago, I found myself drenched in sweat from a yoga class with my yoga teacher, Kathy. I was feeling so good. I felt strong and lean and healthy, better than I'd felt in a long time. And as I turned on the shower, I did my nightly mental back and forth with the scale. You know how it goes. The scale says, just step on. You know you want to. And I'm all like, I am feeling really skinny right now. But no, scale, you're the cruelest at night. But the scale comes right back. Oh, come on, I'm not that bad. It's only because I love you that I want you to step on. Actually, you're kind of a jerk. The scale right back. Oh, stop. How are you ever going to stay in control of your weight if you don't know what it is? I thought to myself, good point. I mean, if I don't weigh myself, I'll balloon up and be a hideous disaster. But wait, I've already stepped on the scale like 6 times today. And honestly, yesterday, it ruined my entire day. And the scale answers back, but yeah, today you totally kicked butt in that yoga class and you haven't even eaten dinner yet. So what do you say? One more time? And so I'm like, oh, fine. I get naked, obviously, because, you don't weigh yourself with all of your sweaty yoga clothes on. I look down, I see the number. Fuck! Such an ass. No, I'm an ass. I'm fat and I'm gross and I have no self-control with brownies. God! I hate myself. I hate my body. And so in that moment, all those years ago, I found myself defeated and insecure just by stepping on a scale. I had felt amazing just 2 minutes prior. Stepped on the scale, read the number, defeated, insecure. So I continued that evening to take a shower while trying to avoid seeing my naked body when something clicked. The scale doesn't decide how I feel. Only I get to do that. So I get out of the shower, I get dressed, I track down a trash bag. And my boyfriend at the time asks me, "What are you doing?" Clearly very mesmerized by the glow of liberation, freedom hovering around my body. I said, "Babe, I'm throwing out that fucking scale. It's sucking the joy right out of me." And he goes back to watching TV unfazed because he's witnessed the whole "I'm throwing out my scale" gig before. Only when I head outside with the scale in a trash bag does he go, "Wait, I want in." So he runs outside with my camera and he says to me, "This is a big deal. You're going to want to remember this." And that night was nearly 8 years ago. And he was right. I was going to want to remember that night. In fact, I think about it all the time. That was the night I chose freedom. That was the night I chose to walk away from food and exercise guilt and into my own joy. I want the same for you. It's time to ditch your scale. Trade those weigh-ins for sit-ins. Choose freedom. And so once you ditch the diets, prioritize your joy, and get rid of that damn scale, then it's time to ditch comparisons. We've all heard before that no one else can make you feel guilty, and no one else can make you feel bad about yourself. Only you are in control of how you feel. It's your choice. True. However, comparing yourself to other people can trigger you to choose to feel like crap. When you compare your life, your body, and your choices to others, you steal your own joy. It's like when you go out with your girls and Jill orders a salad at brunch, and so you choose to feel guilty about your Eggs Benedict. Or when Sasha's abs are straight chiseled in that crop top, and you choose to feel guilty that you haven't been to the gym all week. Instead of comparing your choices to theirs, take a moment to pause and come back to what brings you joy. Does that Eggs Benny make you feel good and bring you joy before, during, and after brunch? If so, get it, girl. And if not, trade it in for something that does. And does going to the gym make you feel like a badass babe or like you want to gouge your eyes out? Well, if it's badass babe, then go ahead, hit the gym. If it makes you want to gouge your eyes out, trade that gym sesh for movement that makes you feel good and brings you joy. It's not them versus you, or their choices versus yours. It's about choosing what brings you joy. And there's a really great example of this from my client, Natalie. She went away on a girls' weekend to catch up with her girlfriends from college and was nervous about all the body talk that takes place amongst her friends. You know how it goes. The "I'm so fat," "my thighs are too jiggly," "ugh, I wish I was skinny like you," "my nail beds totally suck" type of chat. All right, well, so I stole the last one from Mean Girls, but the other ones are all too real. Not only among Natalie's friends, but women everywhere. Instead of comparing herself to her friends and feeling jealous of them, Natalie wanted to be able to love them up and celebrate her friends while she was visiting them. But how do I do that? She asked. Here's what I had to say. What would happen if you chose to prioritize what brings you joy? Instantly, she said, I'd stop talking about my body so much and focus on what I love about my friends. Yes. Choose to be the change. Rather than waiting for the comparisons to stop, choose to stop them. Decide not to partake. Instead, focus on joy. Always come back to joy. After her girls' weekend, Natalie was amazed at how easy it was to be present with her friends and prioritize joy when she wasn't consumed by comparisons and jealousy. She also realized how much her friends talk about their bodies and was even able to have conversations with them about why it doesn't make her feel very good. Freedom from guilt. Freedom from jealousy. The freedom to ask for what you need to feel good. Choose freedom. And this brings us to the fifth and final strategy of our free yourself from food and exercise guilt training. And that is to take a break from social media. Sometimes, honestly, resisting the urge to compare your life to others feels impossible, like when you're scrolling through Instagram. Toned bods, hashtag Transformation Tuesdays, and these meal prep goddesses, well, it's hard not to feel like a flabby, stagnant, burrito-loving couch potato when you're on your couch swiping and you see all of this right in front of you. I know, because it gets me too. We all get lost in that Instagram haze, and before we know it, it's been an hour of scrolling, our hand hurts, and we feel like shit about ourselves. Sometimes in these situations, the best thing to do is to remove yourself from the situation. To give yourself a social media detox. And if you download the PDF training guide that goes along with this audio training, you can grab a link to the social media detox guide I've created that details how to detox from social media and actually stick to it. And so when you give yourself a social media detox and go do something that brings you joy and makes you feel good in and about your body, it's easy to come back to joy.